Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And wanted to do this lesson dealing with how crazy it's getting, right? Pretty much it's crazy how crazy it's getting out here, and that culminates everything. But one of the main things I wanted to highlight, which I was thinking about, was how it's interesting that it's not a bigger shock or I guess, for lack of a better word, uproar with the level of heresies and damnable heresies that are coming out within Israelites, right, or from different Israelites. And what's interesting is we're actually witnessing the Lord, revealing, okay, who are his true prophets, who are his true believers, who are his true servants versus those that are not. And the way he's doing that is by having them expose themselves, right? Because now it's becoming abundantly clear the wayward doctrines that either A, have been covered up for a while and now it's coming out, or B, the Lord is starting to deliberately put that into their minds, to push these things, right? Who would have ever thought? Now, imagine 2 decades or a decade ago, right? Or even maybe 15 years ago, the groups that we have today, right? You have Great Millstone, you have IUIC, ISUPK, all these different groups, Akari and all of that. Now, imagine back then when, the apostles, brothers, still did videos, elders still did videos on, reproving these different groups for the things that they were saying contrary to the scriptures. But now, the things that they're saying is just something that you wouldn't even imagine any Israelite group to even teach, right? And yet, that's what's out here. Okay, and so that's why I mentioned, it's crazy how crazy it's getting, but the crazier thing is the fact that it almost seems normalized to those that the Lord hasn't opened up their eyes, right? So just as society is getting crazy, right? Just as society is getting worse on all aspects, like the food is getting, I don't even know if you can't even call it food, right? But when you even look at your so-called leaders, right, the candidates for who's going to be your next leader, um, you look at the of what sort or of what quality they are, of how their debates are, how all these things are going. It's worse, very, very, very bad. In fact, this is something that you would see on like Comedy Central, like going back a decade or two ago. But that's the point. Now people actually are taking it seriously, like things that, like I said, this would have been and still is comedic, right? Straight comedy. But today people are taking it seriously, right? As though it's this is reality, and people are moving about as though there's nothing going on, as though you know having Kamala Harris out here with the madness that she's spewing. I mean, it's so bad. It almost seems deliberate for somebody to come out here and say these outrageous things that don't make sense. She's like a feminine version of Biden. Okay, but the point is, people are still like, this is the world today, and as it gets worse, the people get worse along with it, and that's why to them it's normal, because as it gets bad, they get worse, and so there's nothing strange to them. But I actually wanted to read this precept here, going back to the damnable heresies that are being taught by the same groups that at one point condemned these kinds of teachings, right? The same groups that spoke against Christianity, right? The doctrines and dogma of Christianity and all of that. Well, now they're teaching the same things, right? And you're saying that the Most High and His Son are the same entity, and you're going along those lines right there. Now, this is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 8. It says, "Therefore he that speaketh on righteous things cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance, when it punisheth, pass by him." You see? and that vengeance is going to come ultimately by Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. Okay, and applying this to, this applies to who it applies to, right? It applies to the wicked themselves, but it also applies to wicked Israelites that are speaking these unrighteous things. Because in teaching these things, you are misleading the Lord's sheep, and it's interesting that even though those individuals are misled of you, and they will be punished for it, you will still be punished for it, right? You can't try to play the card of, oh well, I mean, they should have known better, right? If what I was teaching was so bad, then they should have known better and not listened to it. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so as it says here, vengeance, right? When it punisheth, uh, let me read that again. It says, cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance when it punisheth pass by him. So you won't escape the vengeance of the Lord when it comes. Okay, now moving on, the next verse it says, for inquisition shall be made into the counsels of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come unto the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds. Okay, and the Lord has us out here on a level inquiring, making these kinds of inquisitions, but ultimately, this is going to be done at the time of judgment, and it's all going to be brought, your rap sheet, as they call it, to where nobody's going to be able to, you're not going to be able to say, like the scriptures say, that it was an error in that day. Because here's something interesting about the Lord's record keeping, right? Today, you have somebody's track record, and it's mainly a list of the things they've done. Oh, you had misdemeanor over here, felony charge over here, this here, over this here, that there, this, that, and the third. Okay, now when it comes to the Lord, it's not just about what you did, but the Lord actually has the track record of what were your intentions at the time. What were you thinking when you did that? So you don't just get off with, oh, well, I did this, I did that, and then, that was that. Oh, I didn't mean to. No. The Lord knows the inward things, right? As the scriptures say, he seeth not as man seeth, So the Lord knows what your thoughts were when you did it. He knows if you did it deliberately or not. And even if you didn't, the thing about the Lord, that's the scary thing about the Lord, is he can put a spirit on you to where you go and do something, and you're under a spirit of confusion when you do it, but guess what? You're judged for the act that you did. See? And that's the severity of the Lord's judgment. That's why you don't mess with the Lord, and you definitely don't mess with his word. He takes that very, very seriously. Anyway, what I wanted to highlight here is that it seems as though we are we're doing the most, but we're not. We're actually the ones that are sane and normal, and we're saying, hold on a second. Are you telling me that all the things going on in the world today are normal? Are you telling me, like, pretty much that nobody sees this? this is fine? How much worse does it have to get before you see it? But you know what? At the end of the day, even feeling that way is a confirmation, or I don't even know what's a better word for this, but we'll just go with confirmation of the words of the Lord, because the Lord did say that he would blind them, right? Make their ears fat and their heart, ears heavy and their heart fat, that they cannot hear or see. This is a prime example of that. This is why we're blatantly looking and saying, wait a minute, hold on. How are you saying X, Y, and Z? And how are you people okay with that? But that's because the Lord has blinded them. This is an example of what it looks like when the Lord says that he has blinded certain individuals. Okay? And the example is when they can sit there in a room and listen to their leader say all these things that are non-scriptural, saying things that they staunchly went against, right? Remember the time when they were blitzing the Christians? Right? Blitzing the so-called Christians, and now you're teaching a Christian doctrine. So that's the point right there. For you to sit down and applaud that, or not see anything wrong with that, it's because the Lord has blinded you. And it's a scary thing, but it's also interesting to witness, like, damn, this is what it looks like when the Lord, blinds certain people so they can't get his word. And it's almost like somebody's just there, lifeless. Like you're literally screaming in their face saying, hey, wake up. You're grabbing them, shaking them, and they're just there. They just don't get it. They just look like almost like brain dead. Spiritually, that's what's going on. The Lord has made a lot of people spiritually brain dead, and then He's going to make them physically dead or deleted when He brings that judgment and that destruction upon the world. Okay, so it's not a light thing to to take the word of the Lord like that, because when the judgment starts to come to pass, that's when you'll see the severity of it. As we just read in Wisdom of Solomon, that the vengeance is not going to pass by them, meaning that you're not going to escape it. It's not, the Lord is not going to mark you exempt. All right, but what I wanted to get is let me see if I can find it here in Romans. And this is why the scriptures say that the judgment will begin at the house of God, right? Those that know that they're Israelites, those that should know better, because it's nothing new in this time. This is the same thing that was happening, right? All those years ago during the time of ancient Israel. So this is Romans chapter, I think it's Romans. Let me see. Yeah, Romans 11:7. Now, actually, I want to get 8. It says, according as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. So what we're witnessing is that spirit of slumber that the Most High has given to these individuals, to where they can't see or hear or understand what the truth of the word of the Lord is. And this is what's leading these people to believe, to continue to believe in these lies, to continue to remain in this state. And that's going to be to your demise at the end of the day. Okay, that's how the Lord works. He's not just going to give you some and leave the rest, or take some and leave the rest. As it says, he that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad. So you're either with the Lord or you're not. That's that's pretty much the gist of it. All right, now I want to get this precept here, because it's you may hear it from the words of man, and it may just sound like us on repeat, but it's a very it's actually a very dangerous thing to take the word of the Lord lightly. And the precept I want to get is let's see, because this what this is called is blatant disobedience, right? It's when you punish your child, for example, right, or you punish someone for something they did that was wrong but not knowingly, right? It's a different kind of punishment versus punishing someone for something they knew was wrong and they did it while knowing it was wrong. And that's what I'm going to get here. This is Luke chapter 12, just getting straight to the point. Luke chapter 12 verse 46 says, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, at an hour when he is not aware. And what the Lord does is, when he takes that spirit away from you, the spirit of being a true watchman, you go from constantly watching to now, you're getting distracted. So now you watch a little bit, then you don't. Then you watch a little bit, then you don't. So your head is constantly turning. And then eventually you get to the point where you're so distracted that you stop watching. You watch maybe every once in a while, and then you don't watch at all. And that's when the Lord is going to get you. When you're not paying attention, when you're not expecting it, that's when he's going to hit you with it. Come on with it. It says here, at an hour when he is not aware, see? And will cut him in sunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. And that servant which knew his Lord's will, and you can't say you don't, because we've been here making it very apparent what the Lord's will is. That knew his Lord's will, where we at? And prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. And that's those heavy judgments that's going to come down. And at that point, you can't cry mercy, because as it says here, you knew what you had to do, and you knew what you shouldn't have done, and you still did it. And so when those stripes come down on your back, they're going to leave marks. Okay? They're going to leave painful marks on there. Verse 48, but he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. See? So you still going to get the beating, but the severity is going to vary based on who you are and what you've done. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. See? And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So to bear the role or the title of a teacher or a prophet, much has been committed to you, hence more will be asked of you. And if you can't supply, the consequence will be even greater. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. It's getting pretty crazy out here, and it's only going to get crazier. And don't be surprised when you look at people and they're walking around with sea hips inside of them. Half the world is at war. I mean, shit is just not normal, but they're going about like this is just an everyday to day thing. This is just how it is. And you're going to look at people and you're going to see that these people, they're done. They're cooked, because there's no way that you should be out here looking at how crazy the world has gotten, but that's normal to you. People don't even speak English anymore. They just speak, I don't even know what to call it. Okay? But that's why we pray for the Spirit of the Lord to cover us and to shield us in these times, because it's only going to get worse. Anyway, with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kudash. Until next time, Shalom.